Hello, I'm Adrien. I'm the head of Data Founder. So I do a lot of things at Data Founder, and specifically, I do work on Ticket Ride with Alan.
Hello, everybody. I'm R.Moon, designer of Ticket to Ride, and this is Virtual Gen Con with Adrien.
Hello, everyone. I'm Yann. It's great to be here. I'm the CTO at Asmodee Digital, and so I'm in charge of all the digital apps and especially the digital versions of Ticket to Ride.
All right. Well, that's Bruce. When I was a kid, every Sunday was family day. So my family went out and played miniature golf or went to the movies or a museum, and then we all came home and played games together. So that was really how I got interested in games. And so as an adult, I was just used to playing games every week. And I joined a game club and then just started getting interested in game design and writing about games. So it's sort of what I found mostly in life is that people who didn't play games as a kid, they're not really interested in games as an adult. There's always exceptions, but most of the people who really love games really played them as kids with their family. Yeah, I play Ticket to Ride a lot on the app, or I used to play a real lot. My favorite map is Switzerland, so it's really a fun game to play on the app. It's very quick. Do I block people? Yeah, I really enjoy blocking people. I'm not, I think that's part of the game. I think if people don't want to play with blocking, that's fine. I understand, but usually there's some blocking, even if it's unintentional. I love to take tickets. So Switzerland, again, is a great map. Generally, you take all the tickets in the game, which is really fun. It's a mixed strategy. A mixed strategy is sort of, I don't really concentrate on scoring lots of points for routes. I'd rather get it for tickets and try to have other people get negative tickets, which is really fun. It's a good way to win, and it feels more competitive that way. But, when I'm playing, if there's a very casual group, if I'm playing with somebody like that, then I'll try to play nice and not block them. Especially, if they're first-time players, I try not to do that just so they don't have a bad experience in their first game. Well, I'm really missing Las Vegas this year. The last couple of years, I've gone to the World Series of Poker in Las Vegas, and I didn't think I was going to miss it as much as I've missed it this year. So I would love to hop on. The last couple of years, I actually have gone by train out to Las Vegas. It's about a 3-day trip. And people think that's crazy, but I just think, it's very relaxing, and I can read and play games and work on my computer. So I've really enjoyed it, actually. You get to see a lot of America. So that would be my first choice. If there wasn't any oceans, I'd love to take a train to Australia, although I guess that would take a couple of weeks maybe. So I've always wanted to go to Australia and New Zealand, and I hope to do that someday.
So yes, US was a big hit. Germany was definitely a big hit as well because Ticket Ride won the Spiel des Jahres there in 2024, and it was very big at the end there. But right now we have countries like the Netherlands or the Nordic countries, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and even smallest country like Iceland, where the games sell a lot compared to the number of people there. So we have a lot of country, especially I think in the northern part of Europe, Poland as well. Poland is a huge success, and then the game there has a different name that I can't tell because it's too hard to pronounce for French. But a lot of countries were surprising a lot. Like the Netherlands, it's a small country as well, is less than 20 million inhabitants, and they did big volume also during the pandemic as well. So big surprises for sure.
Sure. I think I'm certainly missing the game conventions, but for me, going to game conventions now is all about reconnecting with other people in the industry, with game designers and game companies. I started going back to Gen Con a few years ago, and so I'm really going to miss that this year. It's a great time to get together with people. Also, as a designer, it's a great time to show prototypes to companies. And, certainly I think every game designer is feeling like it's become much harder to do that. You can send them, by mail sometimes. You can talk to people online and then send the prototypes to them, but it's not the same. I would rather present my prototype in person. I think it's a much better experience, and you get immediate feedback. Also, if the company's not interested, you can just take it and show it to the next company. So it's a big change not to have game conventions to go to. And also, just as a consumer, I mean, I love to walk around conventions and look at all the new products and decide what I'm going to buy or what looks interesting, what I'd like to play. So it's a huge difference. I definitely think they'll come back, and maybe there'll be less conventions in the future. I mean, well, I would say the key is, are we going to get a vaccine? Because I'm certainly not going to a game convention unless we have a vaccine. So that's the big deal. I can't see myself going in a mask and, being around tons of people when there's no vaccine. So, but I think there is a need for game conventions, and I certainly hope that happens again. Otherwise, I don't know. I think the world's in trouble.
Yeah, I think from a publisher perspective, I'm sure convention will come back, and because we need them, and for different matters. First, for a publisher, it's very important that we can connect with the public, with our audience. We spend a lot of time publishing the game. We do have some, feedback, on Facebook or some social media, but being on a convention and see people playing our game is very, very important for us. I mean, we can have instant feedback, we can talk with people, and even, the public, they like to talk to us directly sometimes. So it's a very strong exchange moment that is very dear to us. So there's no way we could not have convention. And there's, of course, a big business aspect in which we meet with, of course, designers, we can meet with distributors, we meet with press, with other publishers. So there's like a lot of going on, and a lot of stuff you can, of course, talk via email or via any kind of connecting system, but being on the spot and being in that kind of big place where everybody can talk and you can grab information and you can have designers that you don't know and just knock at the door of your office in a convention and they can pitch you a new game. That's something that is very hard to replicate online. So that's very important for us. And so that's the two aspects that we're going to miss for sure if there's no convention. So yes, we need those for sure, and we finger crossed they'll come back soon, and that we have a vaccine and we have a way to attend to this.
You want me to start? I think in general the maps are easier to design now. Just after so many years, the process is a lot easier. I started out doing them by hand, sticking little pieces of paper on maps and drawing things. I went from that to doing sort of half on the computer and half, and now I just do everything on the computer. So it's much easier in terms of the process. I think also what's the most surprising thing of all? Well, one of the most surprising things is how flexible Ticket to Ride is. So the system just can handle so many things. It's so the ideas that you can come up with just seem sort of limitless now. And people say, well, did you know that was the way it was going to be? I mean, I didn't know that at all. But as I've worked on it, it just becomes obvious that there's so many things you can add to the system. So the individual games can sometimes be difficult. I tend to get a little stubborn about something. So if it's a good idea, I want to make it work. So usually I'll keep trying even if there's some problems. But in general, the maps are pretty easy to design. We only add usually one or two new rules or some new twists. So it's not a lot to add. It's just some play testing to make sure the new rules work. In terms of the hardest maps, I mean, I think the UK was definitely the hardest. It added lots of new stuff that wasn't in the game, and it took a lot of playtesting to get it right to try and balance the technologies. I I don't know. I think that was by far the most complicated of all of them that have been published. I don't want to tease you too much, but there's something coming up that's a lot more involved. So, as far as like how we choose the map, sometimes they're chosen more for business reasons, that we have a country or something we want to target. Sometimes they're chosen for specific ideas, and sometimes they're just chosen absolutely just for the map, because the map fits the game really well. So I think I don't think there's any one way that we're going to choose a specific map. I think there's a lot of different reasons that come up. So yeah, that's harder to say, but in general, it's really fun to design Ticket to Ride games. Mostly, because it's not too hard, but it's also challenging at the same time. But also because it's fun as a designer to know the game is going to be a success. I don't have to go out and sell a prototype that to some company and worry about, is it going to sell 2,000 copies or 5,000 copies? With a Ticket to Ride game, there's an audience, and it's very satisfying to design each of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion between Alan and I when we work on new maps, and the two important aspects are for sure what region, in what part of the world do you want to go, and what new mechanics will fit that new maps. So a lot of the choices are related, I think, to the region you want to explore. We love to go to new countries, to region we haven't done any map or so on. And there's definitely also the form factor. Imagine the shape of the country has. It's sometimes difficult to fit on a game board. If you take, for instance, the latest map collection, which is Japan and Italy, like only Italy and Japan could be on the two sides because the country are long and narrow, right? So in that case, it was like obvious, okay, but the map itself is longer and narrower than the other one. So we have production constraint. It has to fold differently. It has to fit in the box. Will the box be deeper and everything like that? So there's a lot of back and forth. Is Japan a nice place to design a ticket ride? Yes. Is it going to be easy? No. Okay. And then also we have this kind of discussion where often Alan come with new concept, new game mechanics. Say, oh, Japan, Shinkansen is a good idea because it's very iconic train for Japan. And then the theme, make us think about new possible mechanics. So it's challenging. It's very interesting, and I think there are plenty of places in the world we can still explore.
I mean, what makes it tough is the playtesting. I mean, just not to be able to, for 3 months or so, I wasn't really seeing anybody except my wife Janet. So it's hard to playtest. She's happy to help, although she's really busy with her job right now. But so that was the thing that was the hardest part. Now I've started to play a little bit with friends. We've sort of what we call, I don't know if you call it the same thing, but we call expanding the bubble. So we've decided that these people are safe and we can hang out with them. They've been isolated, we've been isolated. So that's made things a lot easier. But also, Adrien, you did a lot of testing on stay at home because you had a family. It was great that you had the 4 of you that could play the game. So that was really interesting to have you play test the game and really work with you on that. That was a really good experience. And it was I thought it was great that you were playing with your family because that was obviously what we were targeting. And just a great example of the people we thought would play the game when we released it. So yeah, that was great. On the other hand, like what I've learned in the last couple of years has really helped. Like I had never done video conferencing and working. I work on Zoom mostly rather than Skype, but yeah, that's been great. I like I said, I'd never done it before a couple of years ago, and now I do it regularly with people, and it's a great way to work on games, just to talk to other people, to watch them play. I've been using lots of video recordings, so it's somewhat hard to watch the recordings, but it takes a lot of time. But it's really helpful to watch people play games or to test products like that. So yeah, so that's improved actually. When the how the pandemic's going to impact the future, I mean, I just hope it's going to go away, but we'll see. I mean, if it doesn't go away, yeah, it's definitely going to be a big impact. It means that, just again, like that bubble is only going to get so big if it's still around. So that would be hard, I think.
And everything that was very office related, was not so much affected by the pandemic because we quickly have tool like Teams or Skype or any kind of online sharing file sharing system that were already in place. So we have no issue working on graphic design, on producing the game, on the actual production in factories. I mean, besides some factories having capacity issues. So during March or April, when the pandemic was at its peak in Europe, it was maybe a bit harder to produce new games or games. So on that side, I mean, it was almost like no impact, and we because of all the Teams and such tool, we could even talk to people and even talk more often to people actually than a regular, when you're in the office. But indeed, the biggest impact is on playing game together. And so indeed, working on Stay at Home was very interesting experience because it's the first game we ever made without nobody seeing each other. It's like we talked to each other, but I didn't meet with Alan, I didn't meet with the team, I didn't meet with the graphic designer, we didn't meet with the artists, no one. So the idea of the game and all the development and testing was done in isolation. And indeed, being with my family was a perfect testing, process to be able to play Stay at Home with my actual family and being in almost like real life condition, playing with a target audience. So it was very interesting to do that with the family. And I think that experience, and how we play together at home and how we can also set up maybe in the future some tool to play, over the computer and the distance. Hopefully will help us in the case the pandemic goes on, which nobody hopes, but it will impact the way we work for sure. And a lot of stuff, talking to each other, exchanging files and documents will stay easy, I think. But yeah, I think the testing development aspect is where we need every publisher to be secure in the development process. I think it did increase the relevance of board games. I think board games were already useful and relevant in the way that it brings people together. It creates moments, it creates stories. It's a great time to be around the same table and I'm not going to say away from the screen, but that's too cliche. But it's what you see, what you do, how you communicate when you play a board game. The bond you create is very important. I think for a family, it's a strong moment to be able to play board game, any kind of board game. And with the pandemic, when people were stuck together, having this moment where they could play the same thing, having the same goal, being very relaxed and express strategy tactics was very strong. And we've seen a peak in sales for the more family-oriented game. All the game like Ticket Ride, for instance, that were classic in the term of a family game, were I think played a lot during the pandemic. So I think the pandemic in the end got modern board game more exposed to audience that think board game was maybe a bit old-fashioned. So yeah, definitely the board game are even more relevant now than before. Do you want to add something on that, Alan?
Yeah, I mean, I think games are sort of a little bit of normal life, and I think people, we're looking for that. Not only looking for ways to pass their time because they had more time, they were staying at home, but I think game is sort of like you can sit down and just forget about the pandemic for a while, which I think people were definitely looking for ways that they could do that. I know for me, just every day you get up and you see the news and it's just the same thing. It's just depressing and it makes you anxious and angry. And so to sit down and play a game and lose myself in that is great. It's just such an escape. Yeah, we really started with the team idea. We wanted to have a game, first of all, that could be played by 6 people, and just it seemed like it would be an interesting challenge to make that. I wasn't sure how that was going to be received because you just don't know, but I was really great that the feedback was really strong right from the start. The mechanics of the game changed a lot. Particularly in the end, because there was one particular playtest I remember where we played and somebody had and I don't even remember who it was, but somebody had a really great suggestion, like, why don't you do this? And as all great ideas, you immediately think, duh, yeah, why don't we try that? It seems so simple and so obvious. And part of that was moving the arrangement of the seats so the players sat together, which I'd only ever seen in one other game, and I thought was really a clever idea to do it. And then so the teammates could sort of work together. I think that was good. But there were just a lot of changes in terms of, I think originally players had their own colors, and that changed. I think the way we did the tickets with sharing some and not sharing some, almost everything changed as the development went on. But yeah, it was. It definitely started as the team map, and I think the result was, really rewarding. I think it works really well.
I can start on that if you want. We definitely the Tick to Ride Cities was a new branch, a new version of the game that we are happy to keep exploring. I think we worked on the major cities that are London and New York, which is probably among the most famous cities in the world, where the iconography, where the monuments are very, very, very famous. But I mean, every city could pretend to have his own Ticket to Ride version. Ticket to Ride Paris would be lovely. A Ticket to Ride Tokyo would be absolutely awesome. Maybe Ticket to Ride Sydney would be also very perfect. I think all cities are interesting kind of transportation network. They all have very, very important and nice point of interest. So we'll definitely work on more cities. I think it's a very nice format, and we love that. In the other one, that does not prevent us to keep working on the larger, bigger map. There's a lot of country that we want to see, and it's nice also to play on a larger scale. The small city version are very nice for a quicker, more tactical game, but we know players also do like the bigger, more strategic version with longer playing time. So yes, you'll see more countries. Alan, do you want to hint a bit to Spain?
Yeah, we're working on map pack number 8, which will be out next year. We're just sort of in the initial stages of that. Both maps will be, fairly regular with some little twists. The city maps are more interesting to try and add one little rule into them. It's actually more challenging to find something that really works for the city and still keeps it really simple within that small frame of the game. So that's in some ways it's more challenging to do the city maps. Although once you have that idea and you're fairly sure it works, it's really easy to design the game after that. But yeah, I think both have exist in the Ticket to Ride world really easily, and there's a reason to do both, and I'm sure we're going to.
So yeah, the Ticket Ride 10th anniversary, which was based on the US map, it was a very beautiful version we published 5-6 years ago, and it was already done in a limited edition. So we stopped selling or printing this version after the anniversary passed, and it's became a bit, very collector. People are looking for that version. So we know there's some demand for nicer, with bigger and more beautiful components. So we're definitely working on something. The COVID and the pandemic situation made us slowing down publication for some games. So it had an impact on some development aspect of these. And yeah, we want that version to have a sister map, a sister version as beautiful as US. So look for something very nice about Ticket to Ride Europe. So maybe not before the end of the year, but very soon after, and it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, the most important step really is the playtesting. We, some friends and I like to joke that, there's lots of idea people in the world, and sort of ideas are sort of everywhere. You can kind of just grab them out of the air. I don't think there's any shortage of ideas, and it's just easy to find things. But the real part of the real heart of game design is playtesting. Just really test out the ideas and see if they work, and if they don't, change them. And sometimes it's frustrating, sometimes it's very rewarding. But in the end, when the game feels right, it's been very rewarding to do that. And you're just happy, like, oh, you're done. Give it to Adrien. He's gonna go publish it. That's great. That's right.
Okay.
Because Europe was the second map I ever did, it quickly became apparent that it was going to be a lot different than the US, just because of the geography. So the scale of Europe to get all of the countries in meant that the cities were closer together, so there were lots of short routes. So at that point, after really looking at that map, it became clear that I needed something to open up the map a little bit so that people couldn't block so easily. So the stations came from that for sure. And the stations are interesting. I mean, you can play without them. It's a fairly cutthroat game if you play without them, but playing with them, I think it works for the families, that it sort of gives them a little safety net that if you get blocked somewhere, you can put your station down and get back in the game. So it really came after the map. And once I added that in, the map seemed to work fine at that point. I wasn't worried about, was it too difficult for people? So other than that, the map was very different because there were lots of short routes rather than a lot of the long routes in the US map, which changed the ticket strategy. It changed a lot of things in the game, and I think what's really nice is it gives people a choice. The two base games, the US and the Europe, are quite different to play, and so people can choose what they like best. Yeah, well, I get questions about space quite a bit, actually, and I could see, somewhere down the line we might consider doing, spaceship routes, or I don't know. I mean, it would sort of, I think it would generally, if we had a really good idea to do the map, maybe I would just. I don't know, there are certainly things that are obvious, but I don't have a really clever idea for a space map. And I think there's so many other maps in the world we can do first that it's probably, who knows, it might get done someday, but it probably isn't anytime soon, I would say.
Yeah, I confirm there's no such thing in the work. I mean, even if we sometime talk about that and possibly say, oh, what if? And I think you're right, and it at the core it comes to how good that thing can be, and can we get the good idea to do that? And there's a lot of other ideas we have for other map or concept that we may explore first. But what if?
Yeah, exactly.
So the next big project is for sure what we're gonna do with Europe. to celebrate the anniversary of Ticket to Ride Europe. So look for enhanced, beautiful version of the game with nicer components, and so that will come soon. There's a lot of other stuff in the work that are maybe a bit not enough advanced, I would say, Alan. We working on a new map pack, a new expansion pack, for sure. And there's a lot of projects, and especially a big one that we won't talk right now, but some big things are coming.
Yeah, I'm excited about what's coming. I mean, you always want to tell people what you're working on, but then it just spoils the surprise, and it means that they have to wait for years. And it seems like it's better to wait till it's a lot closer and then tell them what's coming. So yeah, but there's cool stuff coming for sure.
Oh yeah, you'll be surprised. So yeah, stay tuned.
Well, sure. The more maps, and I would say, more generally speaking, more features. We have people should know that we have a complete team of developers working full time on the app. So maybe it's not always completely obvious because we are doing a lot of things that people don't see, like fixing bugs, improving usability, adding new platforms. For example, we came up with the online version on the PlayStation 4 during April. But yeah, we're working full time on the app, and yes, there will be more maps or more features. And like in the board game area, we don't want to announce new major features in advance before they are really ready for beta testing and for people to discover, because we don't want to create unreasonable expectations, and we also might have technical problems or change of plans and things like that. But yeah, more maps, more features, more things for the community are coming up, and currently we are pretty active. I think we come up with a new minor update of the app every month for a couple of months. So we are very busy.
Can you, Yann, tell us how was Ticket to Ride, the app, and what the digital game in general affected during the pandemic?
Oh yeah, we had a huge spike of traffic, as you can imagine, during the lockdown. On Ticket to Ride specifically, the traffic more than doubled. So if I remember well, the increase of online games was like by 113%. So that was really, really significant. So yeah, we were all very, very busy, making sure that the platform would sustain the load and that everything would work fine and so on. And we were really happy. It really worked well. For this type of things, you're happy if people don't realize that nothing is wrong, basically. So no failure is your indicator of success, and we did sustain the traffic, so that was really cool.
Thank you everyone for joining us for this Gen Con Online, and hope you play a lot of Ticket to Ride, and I hope to see you soon in the flesh back in Indianapolis soon. Bye bye.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you learned something about Ticket to Ride, and hopefully we get to see you at the real Gen Con next time.
Bye, everyone. Have a great online Gen Con Online, and thanks for joining the call.